welcome to our Chief First Academy. Stop. Good day, viewers. Welcome to Chief First Academy. Today, we continue from where we stopped on ecosystem. The last time that we met, we did a particular question on the WAEC that came out this 2025. But this time around, we deal with another past question on ecosystem. Now, the question says, list 3 ecological factors specific to aquatic habitat and 3 ecological factors for terrestrial habitat. Before I mention those ecological factors, we first need to explain what do we call ecological factors. You see, in an ecosystem, in any form of ecosystem, there are living things that you know that there are some non-living things as well that relates together in that ecosystem. But mind you, there are some factors that will let the living organisms that are there to live successfully in that habitat, in any habitat. It can be aquatic habitat, it can be terrestrial habitat. You see, without these factors determine the nature of how the living organisms that are there, how they live successfully. At the same time, it's also determine how the aquatic habitat on its own and terrestrial habitat on its own, how they look like. These ecological factors determine them. You see, there is a particular course in our institution, that is ecology, that this is the study of the relationship between the plant and animals in their environment or in relation to the environment. Now, those factors that must be considered for any organism in an ecosystem, being terrestrial or aquatic, there are some factors that they usually consider. These factors can hinder them if it is limited, and it can also help them to live well if it is unlimited. It depends. Okay, now let's take these factors one by one. According to this question, we have decided we should list 3 ecological factors that affect the aquatic habitat. Let's start with 1. That is salt concentration. Salt concentration. You can also call it salinity. This first factor usually determines the nature of how the water in the aquatic habitat will look like. If there is high salinity, there is tendency that some organisms will not be able to sustain or withstand that high salinity due to their own nature. And from there, they may likely die or migrate to another place. That is why sometimes those fishermen usually use chemicals. They use the chemicals that contain some, maybe like salt or some other element that can affect the organism in the water. So, salt concentration and salinity can either positively affect the organism in the water if it is in a moderate way, but if it is beyond normal, that one will be a bit difficult for any organism in that water to sustain or to withstand it. Another one is rainfall. You know, the amount of rainfall will determine the volume of water in any aquatic habitat. If there is drought now or dryness, just tell me, those organisms in the aquatic habitat, how will they survive? If there is high intense drought, those organisms will not survive. Some of them will survive, while some cannot withstand it without having water. Some can bore holes like crab. They can bore holes to make holes to get to at least underground water, while some aquatic organisms cannot sustain this. So now, rainfall determines, it's one of the ecological factors of aquatic habitat. Okay, another one, we have salt concentration, we have rainfall. Another one is turbidity. This turbidity explains the cloudiness of the water. What is the cloudiness of the water? It simply means the amount of concentration of debris in the water. If there is high debris in the water, the cloudiness of the water or aquatic habitat will be high, and this can hinder the flow or the movement of any organism. Though aquatic organisms like microorganisms can still sustain in the high debris aquatic habitat, but it can easily hinder some other organisms in that aquatic habitat. That is why I say that turbidity is there. We also have temperature. We have temperature. So after that, let's move on. The three terrestrial ecological factors. Temperature is here. Temperature, wind, rainfall. The amount of rainfall can easily determine how the plants will grow, how organisms will grow. Like different plants in terrestrial habitat, how they will grow. The amount of rainfall can determine that. And wind as well. If there is wind, high wind, or high intensity of wind, it can easily expose the surface of the land to erosion. And from there, it will affect the organism there. And last one, temperature here. The high temperature or the more the temperature can affect the life of organisms in the terrestrial habitat. So these are the ecological factors of terrestrial habitat. We have more than this, and these are the three ones. According to the question, they said we should mention 3 for terrestrial habitat and 3 for aquatic habitat. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.